Okay, the H1B guy here, and today the H1B guy live, unedited and unscripted Q&A 8. Today we're going to cover an update on the H1B IFR. We're also going to do a quick update on S386. We'll do a brief chat around the December Visa Bulletin, just to follow up to my conversation from last week. Were the H1B Guy forecasts, the December 2020 Visa Bulletin predictions. I just want to do a quick follow up on that, and we'll do a Twitter Q&A. Had a good amount of questions come in on Twitter, so sorry, a little overexposed here. If you have any questions for me, you're joining here on YouTube, just post those in the chat. I will definitely get to those at the end of the Q&A. So we're going to cover the first three topics. We'll do Twitter Q&A and do YouTube Q&A. But I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube. It helps me to produce more content like this for you. I also wanted to mention that the H1B Guy offers a variety of consulting services. If I can provide you peace of mind by helping you bridge the gap between your employer and your immigration attorney, or if you have a unique situation and you're looking for some outside guidance, please reach out. I'd love to hear how I can help you. So I've been getting a lot of questions through DMs around when is the H1B IFR lawsuit going to be heard? And I think if we backtrack it and we go back to the original reporting in the media outlets, was that the lawsuit was filed on October the 19th. And so, generally 4 to 6 weeks for the court to process the motion and hear it. So by my math, 4 weeks would have been this week. 5 weeks is Thanksgiving, which is next week. And then, of course, November the 30th, the first Monday after Thanksgiving, will be, the last week before the IFR were to go into law. And so that was written December 7th. Okay. And so a lot of folks are asking, hey, when is this case going to be heard? So my guess right now is that, as it stands today, there are 18 days as of tomorrow for the case to be heard, okay, before it goes into effect on December the 7th. So I'm guessing that the case will be heard the week of the 30th. Whether or not that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it seems common that these cases are heard towards the end of the week. So I would guess you're probably looking at, December 3rd, 4th, maybe, before the case would be heard. And so that's really cutting it close, right? It really is. We're gonna get right down to it, where this thing is going to be right down to the wire before a ruling's heard. So that's my guess for a lot of you that are asking. Of course, if there is any news that breaks or you guys hear of anything, please let me know. I'd love to be kept up to speed on all of this, but really interesting, because what we have is two very big issues at play here, right? The wage rule, which has been really talked about a lot. The numbers are crazy. There's no doubt about it. You're talking about over 200K for, a level 4 type resource. You're looking at the medical professionals and what those average wages are now, based on the new wage levels. And it seems out of line. I did a video yesterday where I talked about tech talent in the US and Canada. And in that report, which was produced by CBRE, which is a commercial real estate development company and management and leasing agency, they talked about the average wages for a lot of different cities. And so if you go look at that data, that link is in the description of that video. I'll share the link to that video in the description of this one after we're done today on the stream. But compare those wage level numbers to that report that's in the CBRE data, and they don't line up. And so, the wage level has been really hotly contested and debated. But as I talked about, I think it's that the narrowing of the specialty occupation definition that really is the one that I think has the chance to have the bigger impact. And, I think the thing is about that, when you look at the degree being kind of the key, right? And it must being in line with what the job requirements are for the occupation. So it makes it really difficult. And I think if you look at going back to that CBRE data, only 11 of the top 50 cities in the US and Canada have a degree attainment rate of 50% or more. So that's some really interesting data. And when you start to peel that back and what it means as we look at specialty occupation and defining that, of course, I have been a proponent of re-clarifying and redefining the specialty occupation definition. But to narrow it in that sense, where it's relatable to the degree, I think that creates some issues for those that aren't on, OPT F1 student visas. So anyway, we'll keep our eyes on that. If you guys hear of anything, please let me know. What do you think? Do you have any guesses on when this case is going to be heard? Do you agree with me? Do you think it'll be the week of November 30th that the court will hear this motion, this lawsuit? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. So wanted to move on to an S386 update. Of course, there was a big rally this past weekend, up and coming, that was posted on Twitter. North Fulton County, Forsyth County, Cobb, Marietta area, Gwinnett. I mean, you're talking about large populations of Indian nationals that work in some of these large enterprise organizations here in Atlanta. So they were out protesting this past weekend. S386 still has a possibility to be called back on the floor, the Senate floor, for unanimous consent vote. Of course, for those of you who aren't aware, it is currently blocked by Senator Rick Scott from Florida. I've talked about that. That was a political favor to the White House and the Trump administration. We've covered S386 ad nauseum. I've talked about why I don't think it'll pass. I've also covered why S386 is a good thing and why I support it. But when we look at where we are, which is there are 21 days for S386 starting tomorrow to be heard on the Senate floor. And that includes Saturdays. So if we take out the Saturdays, I mean, you're looking at less than 20 days of time left for S386 to make it onto the Senate for another unanimous consent vote. So is that going to happen? I think that's the question a lot of people are asking. As we go through this week, they're off next week. And then you're really into the stretch of December, which leads all the way into the week before Christmas. And a lot of discussion around the second stimulus and what that's going to look like, and whether or not that's going to be a possibility. Will that take up a lot of the Senate floor time? There's really no telling. And I think the other thing is, when we really start to unpeel it, this is the ultimate sort of political leverage, if you will, right now, for Senator Scott. He can prove to a lot of Republicans that he is willing to go to some pretty significant lengths for a political favor. So again, what does that leave it in terms of getting back to the floor? I know a lot of folks are working behind the scenes to try to make it happen. But again, I don't know if it's going to make the floor. And if it does, starting tomorrow, there are 21 days left for it to be called on the floor. What do you guys think? Let me know. Drop me a comment here in the YouTube chat if you think that it is going to come back up, and if you think there's a possibility of Senator Scott removing his hold. I still am not confident in that. I'll still go with my answer is no, that it will die in 2020. Hopefully with, the ushering in of a new administration. Once we get past the first 100 days, maybe we would see some sort of address for reform towards the green card backlog, towards employment-based preferences and quotas on country of origin caps. Who knows? I think a lot of that is really up in the air right now, and I think that uncertainty is creating a lot of anxiety, and I think that that's completely understandable. So, um, moving on to the December visa bulletin, and as I previously forecasted and predicted on the H1B Guy forecast, the December 2020 visa bulletin, which by the way is now the most watched video here on this channel. Thank you guys for the support, and girls for the support and watching that video. Not a lot of comments on it though, not a lot of likes either. So I guess while the views were there, I'll try to make sure that the content is concise on those. I definitely am going to plan to do one of those monthly going forward. Seems like you guys are really interested in that. And of course, disclaimer, non-scientific and completely made up dates. I just am going by my hunch based on historical evidence and what I've seen. So we'll continue to do those. But one of the things that I am going to do on those forecasts is predict when the release date will be for the bulletin each month. And so at the end of that video, I talked about tomorrow as my number one choice for the visa bulletin release. And then Friday, November the 27th, and Monday, November the 30th as the second and third choices. So the question is, will it be released tomorrow? I'm not as confident as I was last Monday, but I think it's still a possibility. We may wake up tomorrow to the news that it was released. But I think if we look at where Thanksgiving falls, which is at the end of the month, right, and the 30th being the last day of the month on a Monday, that lends itself to that possibility. Historically, they've preferred to release those on Thursdays. So that's why I went with tomorrow, because I just don't see them doing it on Thanksgiving. That was the logic behind that prediction. But what do you guys think? If it's not tomorrow, do you think it'll be on the 27th or the 30th? Or will they just fool us all and come out and release it on Thanksgiving morning? I'm not sure. We'll definitely keep our eyes open and ears ready for that. But just wanted to say thank you guys for watching that video and all of your support on that content. Just really lets me know that that's the type of stuff that you're looking for from me here on this platform, and that for some reason I've earned your respect and trust when it comes to those predictions, even things that are completely made up. So thank you guys so much for that. I just really appreciate that. I wanted to ask you, since this is a live stream, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like button. It really helps the channel and this video get picked up in the YouTube algorithm. If you're joining the live stream or a live stream here today for the first time, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube as well. But this is also the time, if you have a comment or a question that you'd like me to discuss, please post that in the YouTube chat here, and I will get to those after the Twitter Q&A. Really just love the interactivity with you guys, and if there's anything that is on your mind or I can help you with here while we have some time this afternoon, go ahead, get that in the chat, and I will get to it. I also want to say I can't believe it was a week ago today that I had the brilliant mind of Christine Mikolajuk here on the H1B Guy. She joined me for the H1B Guy Live Stamp It Out Q&A 4. I am going to go ahead and let everyone know that on Wednesday, December 2nd, I'm just so excited. I have another extremely brilliant mind that's going to join me for the H1B Guy Live Stamp It Out 5, and that is Dr. Oscar Cabrices. And I will share his Twitter handle in the description here, because he'll be joining me. Like I said, that's on Wednesday, December the 2nd. And just really excited about his story. He has a really unique perspective on immigration and migrating here to the U.S., and just another brilliant mind. But if you guys haven't watched the Q&A, Stamp It Out with Christine, I mean, some of the stuff that has come out of that, and some of you that have reached out and direct messaged me about that, just thank you so much. I mean, it was my honor and privilege. When you have a brilliant mind like Christine's on, I tried to do my best to really make sure that we hit on a lot of the points that I think that are important right now as we look at what the current climate is like as it relates to U.S. immigration, legal immigration, right? And I think that's one of the things that we talk about here, employment-based preferences and legal immigration. And this channel will constantly and continue to be a proponent of that legal merit-based immigration, even if that's under the form of an H1B or an L1 right now. Um, as we all know, I'm a big STEM proponent, but I'm also a big medical professional proponent. And any sort of specialty occupation, your engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, nuclear power engineers. I mean, everything that you can think of that's specialty occupation where we lack human capital. I am a proponent of. I think that that's how we've gotten to where we have as a nation. And it's why I love being an American. It's why I love where I live. And so, anyway, thank you guys for that. Just if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe. Um, so I wanted to move on. We'll do the Twitter Q&A here. Starting with at EVGuy7. And he asks, hey, question, should Ayla wins the lawsuit, would that reverse both wage increase changes and definition of specialty occupation that is proposed by DHS? Or can DHS at least implement specialty occupation definition even if they lose on wage increase proposal? Also, can court allow DHS to make adjustments based on Ayla's arguments and adjust wage increase to a little lower levels? Finally, is DHS going to delay and drag the case months or years so existing H1B holders in the U.S. cannot really obtain an LCA? Could this be their strategy? So we'll just start with, if Ayla wins the lawsuit, would that reverse both wage increases and the definition of the specialty occupation? Well, interestingly enough, I mean, I think that's up to the judge's decision, right? And in terms of reviewing the motion and what he decides or she decides. I think that that's strictly in the hands of the judiciary branch there. They can definitely say yes to one and no to another. They can deny one and accept one. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think when you look at both the wage level and the specialty occupation, they seem to be sort of a package, right? As they are really narrowing the scope of what an H1B visa is. It just does. And so, can they implement specialty occupation definition even if they lose on wage? I think that answer is yes, right? One or the other can be accepted or denied. At least that's my understanding. Can the court allow DHS to make adjustments based on Ayla's arguments and adjust wage increase to lower levels? I think that's a possibility. Yeah, I think that they may give them time to come back, right? They may do a motion to suspend, meaning suspend the date until some updated data is provided, and of course the plaintiffs would have a chance to review that information. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a paralegal. I am a technology recruiter and expertise in employment authorization. So finally, is DHS going to delay and drag the case months or years for existing H1B holders in the U.S. so they can't obtain an LCA? And is this strategy? I don't think that that's going to be the case. But it definitely seems like they started with the DOL, right? The LCA, the wage level. They knew that if they jacked that up to a pretty significant number, it would make it very unobtainable for a significant percentage of folks living and working here on H1. So, yeah, I don't think that they can drag the case out, though. I think it'll be a decision. They may come back, but again, this is, a notice, right? And a notice without a posting. So meaning there wasn't the 30-day comment period. Okay. So that's what makes this interesting. in terms of the play by the current administration. Again, I have to think that the case here that Ayla put together is very strong. And so as I've started to think about it, I feel like this motion they're going to win. That's just the way I feel. Um, results don't really impact that either. I just think that the administration moved without authority excessively, and I think that a judicial court will recognize that. So. Let's see. At Arun 2171 asks, does recapturing of unused visa or counting of dependent as one for GC can be done via executive order by new admin? Well, yes. As we've seen with the current administration and over 400 executive actions as related to immigration, they can try to do whatever they want in terms of their authority. The question becomes, how quickly will we see a lawsuit or a motion filed to deny, right? So I think that's a possibility. But one thing I want to warn you here, Arun, and that is if President-elect Joe Biden is to win, as being reported and voted on in the Electoral College coming up, he's not going to do something like this through executive action. He spent a lot of time in the U.S. Senate, as we're all aware of. His view on immigration and the way he wants to make policy on immigration reform, specifically as it relates to employment-based preferences, the H-1B visa, and the green card backlog, is through legislative acts of Congress. So I don't think you'll see an executive action from President-elect Joe Biden to do this type of work, meaning, recapturing the unused visas and counting dependents as one, right? I think that he will defer to legislative acts of Congress in order to do that. Thanks, Arun, for the question. Appreciate it. Okay. At Nitha _ Sind asks, should we wait to file extensions for another month to see what happens with the wage increase case? Let me see. Okay, so your expiration, I'd asked you, is March 2021. Yeah, I mean, I think, the question is, there's a couple questions that I'm going to throw at you here, Nitha, and this is what you need to answer to make your decision. Okay, the first question is this, all right? Can you file in premium processing or request premium processing, and are you willing to pay for that? Okay, so one question there. Can you request premium processing? Will your employer allow you to file in premium processing? And if they will, are you willing to pay for that if they want to pass that cost down to you? So why am I asking about premium processing? Well, as we start to wait, right? Meaning, how quickly are you looking to have a decision? The good thing about the way extensions work is that as long as your case is submitted with a valid tracking number at least 24 hours before your expiration, your case was extended in good faith. So you won't lose. You just will kind of be in this gray area, right? Now, you may not want to wait that long, and I wouldn't advise you to wait that long, but you can wait. Your immigration attorney or your employer can wait to file literally a day before your expiration. Okay. So you do have that option to wait, but yeah, I think I would advise you to wait at least until mid-December. Your employer and your ME attorney may already be preparing your case. I don't know if you're filing in regular or not, but I only ask about the premium processing because that tells me that if you're willing to do that, then you can wait. Okay. And you can, of course, wait and file in regular processing as well. But you've got some time here. You've got 4 months basically to get that case filed and submitted. But good luck with that, and hopefully we'll hear something really soon. Okay, so at Arun 2171 says, hey, another one. Is there any appetite for the new admin to make any change to current executive orders? Also, is there any plan to make any change for legal immigration in the first 100 days? So the first question is, I think that there is an appetite. There's been some discussion about rescission of executive orders, but in the first 100 days, none of those were around the H1B or employment-based preferences or the green card backlog. So I think you're going to see you saw last week, the DACA um, court ruling. Of course, I think uh, President-elect Biden would look to lift the Muslim travel ban pretty quickly. So yeah, I mean, I think that you'll see some work in the first 100 days, maybe even very quickly in the first few weeks. I would imagine that's what the transition team is working on right now, is writing up some of these orders that he's going to look to rescind or override. But I don't expect those to be around the H1B visa or the green card backlog or lifting country caps on employment-based preferences, unfortunately. Hope I'm wrong, but it just doesn't appear that way. You can look on the transition website and you can read his immigration platform, which I've covered here a good bit. And the first 100 days have no mention of any of that type of reform. It says we'll look to work with Congress. So, as I mentioned earlier, he meaning President-elect Joe Biden, is going to look to do immigration reform via acts of legislation, not via executive actions, unless he absolutely has to. At least that's how I'm interpreting his policy so far. So at Raja Krishna 22 asks, how will USCIS perform under new admin next January? Will the processing times be faster, and will the unwanted process like biometrics be removed? What's your take on this? Thanks. No, I don't think the processing times will be faster. You're still talking about a bureaucratic agency which is slower than snails. I mean, they just are. And even when you pay them, gosh, what is the new premium processing fee now? Over $2,000. It still can sometimes take 10 days. So no, I don't think it'll be faster. It wasn't fast under the Obama administration. And so if we're looking at parallels, I think you're going to see some similar parallels, right? In terms of the policies. A few different, but I think you'll see the bureaucrats here, USCIS, DHS, ICE, CBP, they're going to function in very similar capacities. They will not be as iron fist, authoritative, totalitarian as the current administration. I think you'll see a change in that. But they're still going to scrutinize cases, submit RFEs, submit 221Gs for administrative processing. They are still going to do that. That will not change unless there is a change and a complete overhaul to our immigration system as it currently stands. It's just not how USCIS functions. There are thousands of employees that work for that agency. So they have no incentive to move faster than they do. Sad, but true. Thanks, Raj. I appreciate your question. Ram, always, man. Just so glad to hear from you. So that was all I had on Twitter. If you have any questions for me, I'm going to move on to the YouTube Q&A. If you're currently watching here on the live stream, I just want to say thank you. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube, please subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube. We are making that push to 500 subscribers. I would just be so thrilled if I could join you guys next Thursday and be at the 500 mark, halfway to the 1,000. YouTube has been very good to me. I've met a lot of you through YouTube, and just thank you so much for all the comments that I've been receiving on all my content. They just really help motivate me and let me know to keep doing what I'm doing, that this platform is not only my voice, but it's your voice. And so I want to keep going. Let's keep talking, and let's keep bringing a spotlight to an issue that we have here in this country, which is the suppression of legal immigrants. and we have to keep talking about it. So thank you everyone who's taken the time to join here in the live stream. If you've got any comments, go ahead and put those in. I'm going to move on to those here on YouTube now. So hey, Kapil, thanks for joining us here today. Really appreciate it. So you're asking, how likely is F1 visa proposed rule is coming into effect, and will it end up in courts? It sure seems like everything that's being done right now by the current administration as it relates to immigration. So we're talking about F1s, H1s, L1s, seems to be on the path of lawsuits. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that it's a possibility, like anything, but I haven't heard anything or read anything about it. I would imagine that it would take the universities or the institutes that are impacted by this to sort of pact together. Or it would take a group of students who feel like their rights are being discriminated against to find the right attorney that would be willing to work either pro bono, or they have the monetary capabilities to file this sort of suit. But unless one of those two things happens, then I'm not sure that it will go to court. But believe me, the universities have a lot to lose because international students have big dollar signs around their necks. They just do. Um, International students most times pay anywhere between 1.5 to 2 times what the domestic American student does. So think about how that impacts the university and their programs and their revenue. State schools, um, while they may be not for profit, are profitized. So thanks, Kapil. Appreciate the question. Um, Appreciate you taking the time to join the stream here today. So let's see. At Praveen Kumar asks, what options do we have to not lose the status of filing adjustment of status in case we have to travel out of the country due to emergency reasons while AOS is still in status? Um, I'm not sure about that one, Praveen. That's a stumper. I would imagine, um, is your I-94 still valid? Would you require a new stamping if you were to leave the country? Because I think if you don't have to do that, then you may be able to get a travel waiver of some sort. But if you do, then that's going to present some problems, right? Because the consular processing that's going on right now seems to be still non-existent. I had some folks reach out to me um, last week asking if I could help them get someone from the U.S. office, consulate office, and Hyderabad to get back to them. So that's a very interesting question. So if I'm you and there's a reason that you have to leave, meaning you don't have any other choice, this is where your immigration attorney, who either you or your employer pays a retainer fee, will come in very handy. And if you want to ask them this question and get their answer and then reach out to me and we can strategize through that together, please feel free to do so. Um, I just am not as familiar with the AOS travel regulations. I know that there is some language around the students who have their visas expire but are adjusting status to potentially an OPT or an H, that uh, there is some language that allows them to return while their adjustment of status is still pending. But if any of you guys are watching this and if you've gone through this, please drop a comment in the chat. Maybe you can help Praveen out as well. But Praveen, keep me posted. I'd love to hear your resolution on this. I'm sorry I don't have an exact answer for you. But I hope if your I-94 is still current and you don't require consulate processing and a new stamp, you may be able to travel for the emergency. Good luck, my friend, on that. Okay, so at Rishi ask on November 23rd, the hearing for case against admin by U.S. Chamber of Commerce, universities, etc., is there. By Paul Hughes, we might get temporary injunction on DOL DHS rule. Let's hope that happens soon. And then that's the only case out of the three cases which mentions an EB immigrants already in U.S. Rest of two cases just focus on harm due to corporations and bad rulemaking. Okay, so let's see. That is Monday, Rishi. Is that right? Um, let's see. Let me get the calendar out, guys. I don't have it in front of me. Let's make sure. Yeah. So there you go. Rishi, thank you for breaking that. It sounds like at least one of the cases filed will be heard on Monday. The other two are the ones that are the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Association of Manufacturers, I'm assuming, that are named in those cases, which very similar to the travel ban, has about 14,000 employers as part of that lawsuit. So, uh, yeah, I mean, well, good to know here. So it sounds like the 23rd, we'll get an update. Maybe we can put some out that afternoon, or we'll talk about it next week at least in terms of that ruling. Of course, all the reporters for the large media outlets are going to be all over it, and that'll be all out to our fingertips as soon as a decision is made on that. Um, but Rishi, thank you. Really appreciate that a lot. Thanks for that information. Um, so Vivek, thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time here to join the live stream here today and post a comment here in the chat. Thanks. Really look forward to interacting with you more in the future. All right. Nirvan Jain asks, what is the H1B IFR lawsuit update? Okay, so then I'm just going to, Nirvan, hang with me. I'm going to click back here because one of our folks joining us here today helped. So listen, on November 23rd, the case against admin by U.S. Chamber of Commerce, universities, etc., is there. By Paul Hughes, we might get temporary injunction on DOL DHS rule. Let's hope that happens soon. And then, of course, that's only one out of three cases which mentions the effect of EB immigrants, EB meaning employment-based immigrants, already in the U.S. Rest of two cases just focus on harm to corporations and bad rulemaking. So, again, Nirvana, it's your question. It sounds like Monday we should have an update, at least on one of the motions filed. It sounds like the other two are pending. They could have been filed in different districts or different circuits. So that's where we are. It looks like the 23rd. Yeah, so there it is, Nirvana. I hope that helps answer that question. Hey, Samir, thank you for taking the time to join. With the DOL wage level lawsuit going on, what are the options for someone who's going to file LCA right away before the verdict comes? Yeah, I mean, I guess, Samir, this is the whole who moved my cheese game of cat and mouse that's being played right now, right? Um, do you submit based on the old wage level or the new one? And, without knowing where you fall on that wage level, I would tell you if there's any way that you can wait until it sounds like after Thanksgiving. I don't know if you can or not. You may be a timing issue because LCAs can take 7 to 10 days to come back in terms of their certifications from the Department of Labor. And again, for those of you who don't know, labor condition application, LCA, which is certified by the Department of Labor, states a prevailing wage determination which the employer or the petitioner is legally obligated to pay the employee or beneficiary. So, Samir, you're in a tough spot, man. Message me if I can help you on this, but I would think I would wait at least kind of based on the information that we've gone over here today on the stream to see what if that injunction, if that motion is coming down on the 23rd. So I also wanted to tell you, Samir, thank you for all your comments that you've been leaving on my content that I've been producing here on this channel. Some of your words have just really continued to motivate me to keep doing what I'm doing here. So thank you. Really just appreciate it. And then Praveen, no, hey, thank you, my friend. Thanks for joining the stream. Um, Thanks for the really tough question. Unfortunately, I don't always have all the answers. As I've said, I'm not an immigration attorney. I've not studied law, but I know how to get you to work. And I know how to keep you legally working, right? And so, but I also have been very fortunate in helping folks like you travel internationally, because I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand. And that's the travel anxiety that folks living in the US, working under H1B and L1s for that matter, live with on a daily basis. And that is, you don't have that freedom of travel. And while the pandemic has locked a lot of us into the country, and reduced a lot of our travel, I think that's a little different. And I'm sure that there are some of you that are watching right now or that will be watching in the future that haven't been home in 2, 3, 4 years. I'm curious, what would you do if the travel ban was lifted? Would you make the move right now? Meaning travel ban internationally, not that you can't get back in the country travel ban, but just the bans that are going on internationally. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that travel, the anxiety that creates, and how it traps you, right? And we talked about this with Christine on last Wednesday. This concept of frozen in time. And I know a lot of you feel that way, that you're just frozen in time. And so I hope that we can keep talking and working and getting to a point to where you no longer feel that way. So Samir says, hey, thank you so much. Do we have to use the data from DOL or a third party as well? So I think that you can use both. You can dispute the DOL wage as long as you can produce the evidence of that. There's been times where we've used third party sites to determine MSA prevailing wage levels for perm. But I think you could be able to, if it were a credible source, you could dispute the wage. But again, you're going up against a government bureaucrat, right? Someone who is reviewing and certifying that LCA. Definitely want to be careful with that. Okay. You just challenge them when you know you're right. That's my best advice. Thanks, Samir, and really appreciate it. Just like I said, just really, your words just mean a lot, and you're not the only one. But I think you left me a comment yesterday, or the day before, and just really appreciate it. So at Suresh asks, hi, how long prevailing wage request takes to complete? Mine was submitted on August 15th, but status yet received. Okay, so this is an interesting question, because I'm assuming your employer, Suresh, is keeping you posted on that status. Or maybe they received it and didn't receive a favorable wage and have asked for a second or third source, kind of similar to what Samir's question was on the LCA for the DOL. And so you can use third-party sources as it relates to prevailing wage determinations for perm labor. So I'm not making any assumptions here that your employer didn't get back a favorable wage, but there may be some situations where there is a delay, where maybe the wage wasn't received. Okay, so you're saying no status yet. All right. Um, Generally, so timelines that I received, generally it was about 60 days on those. Okay. So again, if that was filed August 15th, October 15th, you should have heard something. Now we're at November the 18th, so now you're past the 90-day mark. So at some point in December, if you haven't heard anything, December 15th, um, your immigration attorney has a point of contact and they can reach out and ask for an update on your case. Not a lot of people know that, but they have a liaison. Immigration attorneys all have a liaison, okay? And they can reach out and ask for an update on your case. So you may want to look into that. But I would wait until mid-December. I know that sounds crazy because average is about 60 days, but with everything going on right now, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go 120. So patience, man, and this is the hardest part about perm labor is that the hurdles that have to happen. Because now, for those of you who don't know, Suresh is waiting on a prevailing wage determination for his perm labor to come back. And once that comes back, only then can his employer begin advertising for his position. And that's where they have to prove that they cannot find, identify, or recruit a U.S. citizen or green card holder to fill his role. And so until that prevailing wage determination comes back for his perm role, the process of his perm labor certification can't move forward. And so that's where the delays come in over and over and over again. So Suresh, good luck, my friend. Keep me posted. I'm here. If I can help you, please feel free to reach out. Hey, Chetan Tande asks, do you agree if legal immigrants have learned helplessness? Why no? Go where you are treated the best. I mean, I think that's something we've been talking about a lot on this channel, Chetan. I think you know that. I think I've used the story of my good friend who moved to Australia as part of that. He spent 12 years here in the US and he had three, four I-140s and got fed up. And I think a lot of you are feeling that way. So that's the helplessness, the travel helplessness, the inability to change employers at really your own requests, right? There's a lot that goes into it for an H1B to change employers. So, um, but I think you're seeing that message very loud and clear. Folks writing and talking about students not to come to the US to study because you're not going to be treated fairly. You're going to go into sort of this cycle that we've talked about on this channel, the cycle that does not end. And so what we have to do is talk about why we have to put an end to that. Employment-based legal immigration is one of the key contributing factors to our technological advancement and innovation. And we can't continue to restrict and narrow it. We just can't. Syed Ahmed asks, hey, H1B guy, so good to hear from your opinion. What do you think Joe Biden will go for point-based immigration? I don't see anything from their administration projected talking about it because they're not. I hate it. You guys who followed me here on this channel for any amount of time know that I am a large, very vocal, very loud proponent of a merit-based system. And a Biden administration is not. They'll support the big tech, and the big tech loves the H-1B. They just do. I mean, I think you look at those numbers of Facebook, Google, Amazon, Salesforce, you know, those numbers prove themselves in terms of their use on H1s. But the good news, Syed, is that if we keep talking about it, and if we can make a case with very valid data points as to why a merit-based system would resolve a lot of the issues of our broken employment-based immigration here in the U.S., then I think that that's something that I'm going to continue to champion, and I need folks like you to help me do that. So thank you, Syed. Appreciate you taking the time to join the stream. Mutiala asks, if LCA is filed and still not approved, meanwhile your H-1B validity is expiring soon, do we need to leave the country? So you have 60 days from the expiration of your current H. Okay. Um, I am hoping, because LCAs, again, I'll go back, we'll say 7 to 14 days. I don't know when your LCA was filed, but that tells me something is up. Okay. So just backtrack on your dates when that was filed, 7 to 14. Um, who knows? Maybe it is the prevailing wage determination that's causing a delay in it. But I would go back and take a look at that. But no, you have 60 days, okay, from the expiration of your H, okay, to leave the country. So hopefully your LCA will be approved. And I would ask, this is some advice. I would go ahead and work with your employer and your immigration attorney to make sure that all of your other documents are signed and in the hands of the attorney or the internal resource from your employer who's going to be responsible for filing your case via FedEx or USPS or UPS or however they're going to file it. I would make sure that everything else is signed off on, because everything else can be prepared in advance. Okay. So if you're just waiting on the LCA, all the other things can be prepared. All right. All the other documents, all the other evidence documents that need to be provided, all that can be provided in advance. So good luck. Muchala, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining the stream and taking the time to check in and drop me a question. Okay, so at Chatton asks again, do we expect less RFEs in Biden administration? When will adjudication timelines be back to normal? There's a lot of damage done to USCIS policy manuals under Trump. Yeah, no doubt. But that was on purpose and intentional. Do I expect less RFEs in the Biden administration? No, I'm going to say I don't. I don't think there will be more, but I don't know if there's going to be less. I think you'll see that the way RFEs work, to me, request for further evidence, okay, is that they generally are a delay tactic in case processing for those processing officers. They maybe have 25 cases on their desk that day. They're going to take 5 or 10 and put those in RFE. That's just my opinion. I don't know if that's factual or not, but it's my opinion. But hopefully we will see less. But you're only going to see less if the appropriate evidence is provided and those cases are clear. When I was submitting cases, we had very few RFEs, but the ones we did generally were pretty basic. And so as long as your case is pretty straightforward, then, hopefully we can adjudicate them in a much faster timeline and won't need to file in premium, because cases can be approved in the old 90-day number versus 6 months or longer. Hey, Suresh, thank you. My pleasure. Appreciate you taking the time to join the stream. Chen says, I have also heard suing USCIS helps speeding up your case or even get approvals too if you are unfairly denials. Lawsuits have gone up. Absolutely. Because I think you've seen that it's been at the discretion of a bureaucrat that simply has looked at something that they didn't like and used that as cause for denial. So, yeah, I mean, I think, as we've talked about before, the immigration attorney that works for your employer and helps you. You are totally within your rights to have third-party counsel. Review your case, go over it. But the issue is that the employers and that other immigration attorney generally don't want to share that, but they have to. It's the law for them to do so. So to answer this question and statement, which is, yeah, if you have the financial wherewithal to hire a good attorney, it's amazing what can happen when the government's acting at their discretion versus interpretation of the law. So, Chetan, thanks for all your comments today. Just really appreciate it. Syed says, so if House goes to Republican and Senate already goes to Republican, that means Joe Biden will see hard time passing anything immigration related through Congress. Yes, but the interesting thing is there are a lot of bipartisan views on immigration in both chambers. There just are. Um, Senator Mike Lee from Utah is a Republican and one of the biggest proponents of immigration reform. And then you've got others like Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas, who initially submitted a merit based immigration point system on the Senate floor back in 2017. So you have bipartisan support of immigration reform. So we'll see. They always say that it's good to have the division of power. So if that means Republicans hold the House and the Senate and we have a Democratic president, hopefully that means that we can get some real bipartisan laws written that benefit everyone, whether that be around immigration or domestic laws. So thanks, Syed. Really appreciate you taking the time to join me again and just, questions and comments. So Samir says, do I think H4EAD will go away on Biden's watch or will it stay? As it seems H4EAD was Obama and Biden's brainchild. Yes, I think it'll stay. I talked about the H4EAD and when that came to terms in May of 2015 and how significant that was. Of course, for the last 4 years, it's been under the watchful scrutiny of the Trump administration. I think the H4EAD is vital for H1Bs, for their spouses' independence. I would imagine a continuation of the same under the Biden administration. And that would be to continue the H4EAD as an option for those spouses' independence. As I mentioned, and for those who aren't aware, the H4EAD, of course, has been contested. Uh, but I think where it is now versus where it was 5 years ago is a lot further on. And why I say that is because when it was first implemented, you had a lot of dependents that hadn't worked in several years and kind of created this undercut of talent where they hadn't worked in a while and were willing to take lower wages to do, more junior to mid-level type work. But now you really don't see that because of the way the transition is going and the fact that the H4EAD has been in place for, 5 years now. So, hey, Watcher, thank you for taking the time to join the stream here today. Good to hear from you. Why S386 bill should pass unanimous votes? Why not like how it is passed by House majority? Well, I think that was the that was at the discretion of the sponsor. That was Senator Mike Lee's choice to bring S386 under unanimous consent. So that was their decision, and ultimately it's because it had been in play now for its second year. Okay, but I'm really curious to see what happens in 2021. Again, I think I've been alluding to this, and I'm going to do more on this next month in December. But I think we're going to see, hopefully, some sort of legislation come up in May or June of 2021. That's what I think. I think that's why you don't see it alluded to in the first 100 days of President-elect Joe Biden's transition plan. I think that they will find a sponsor, whether that be in the Senate or the House, and they will use pieces of S386 to create an entirely new bill. That's what I think is going to happen. So, really appreciate your opinion and thought. I hope the best for Biden admin. I think we all do, but I think you know, I expect a lot of the same, unfortunately. I think that you'll see a lot of siding with big tech and their influence, which is okay. But understand that big tech and their influence is about the cycle. It's not about breaking the cycle, it's about a continuation of the cycle. So, um, okay, so that was all the questions I had here on YouTube and the chat. I've got a couple more minutes if any of you have any other questions. I do want to go ahead and take the time now to let everyone know no new content tomorrow. And there will not be the H1B Guy news for the week ending November 20th this week. taking a little break over the next few days, but I will be back next week, and I have something very special planned for Thanksgiving Day. I'm just going to go ahead and let everyone know I plan to do another quick live stream. It won't be an hour or anything like that. It's going to be short, very special celebration of Thanksgiving, as well as the H1B guy's birthday. So go ahead and make plans to join me on Thanksgiving Day. I don't know what time yet. I'm going to work on that. I'll get more on that out next week. But I just want to celebrate with everyone and say thank you. So I do want to challenge you guys and let you know, how can you help the H1B guy? Well, first of all, you can help me by liking my content, by subscribing if you haven't already, and by commenting on my posts here on YouTube. You can share my videos on Twitter, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, wherever. Connect with me. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Facebook. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I do have an Instagram account, but it felt like prison photos, so I really haven't been using it. I think I want to get back to it at some point. But I'm working on some really big things for 2021. So if you can just help share this platform, as I said, we're well on our way to 500 subscribers here. Would really love to be there next week. So if you can help me, please help me out. Would love it. If that were a possibility to share, like, subscribe here in the H1B Guy channel on YouTube. Samir says, I agree with you, as I did not see the agenda at the top of the list on Biden's website. Yeah, I mean, it's very clear in the first 100 days that no mention of temporary foreign worker, high-skilled foreign worker, employment-based preferences, green card backlog. Any U.S. student visa update? As of now, no. I know that they were still going towards the time limit, as I covered a few weeks ago. But I haven't seen anything since that release. Now, there is a notice period, right? It's 30 and 60. So I believe that date falls somewhere in December. But we'll definitely be keeping our eyes and ears open around that. So thank you, Gervijay, for taking the time to join the stream here. Really appreciate it. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the stream here today. I just want to thank everyone who took the time to join, who took time to comment, who has liked this video here on YouTube. Thank you. If you haven't, click the bell for notifications here on this channel so that you're notified anytime we're going to do a live stream or that a new post goes up here on this channel. If you're looking for ways to support the H1B guy, in the description of the video, there are ways that you can help produce the show. So this is where I will ask you, if you're feeling very thankful and giving in this season of Thanksgiving, please check that out. You can help me and the H1B Guy platform here on YouTube. With that being said, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's taken the time to join me here today. I just really appreciate your support. The H1B Guy, your global source for all things H1B.